Welcome to Recipes Recommended. Today our recommendation, pork a la Normande or pork with apple brandy cream sauce, is another recipe I found in one of my mom's binders, clipped from what I think is a Bon Appetit issue from the 80s. I made some minor updates, but kept the recipe mostly intact. Most notably, I used cosmic crisp apples and not golden delicious. Since it's finally fall and I had all the ingredients, this recipe jumped ahead in line. I hope you enjoy it. The ingredient list is short, but there's some interesting technique which I'm happy to share. First is the pork tenderloin, which after trimming was cut into 1.5-inch slices. Believe it or not, tenderloin is super tender, and between 2 layers of plastic, I very easily pounded the pork into 1/4-inch thick medallions. If you haven't worked with shallots before, they're an allium related closely to garlic and of course onions. They're sweeter and work very well when developing flavor in sauces. Dice them how you would an onion, but on a much smaller scale. It's also okay just to mince them. After transferring the pork to a small sheet pan, I seasoned both sides of the pieces with salt and pepper and then set them aside. I took a few apples, peeled them, and after cutting them into half-moon slices, I kept a small amount of the red skin on, mostly just because I knew that this recipe was going to be very beige and a little color always helps. I have a love-hate relationship with thyme. It isn't the easiest to prep, but it's so good. I took sprigs and roughly stripped them of their leaves, and about a tablespoon was finely chopped. Don't worry about how precise you are, just make sure you don't include any woody bits. On the stove, I got a heavy bottom pan up to temperature over medium heat. I added an ample amount of butter and once melted, added the apples, which had been sprinkled with a small amount of sugar. As a note, the variety of apples I used, cosmic crisp apples, didn't exist when this recipe was written and are much sweeter than golden delicious. Perhaps adding the sugar is unnecessary. After cooking them until golden and spotty, I took them off heat. Because this is a French recipe, we melt some more butter in my 10-inch pan and then arrange the pork medallions, trying not to crowd the pan. Because they are so thin, I'm only cooking the pork for about 3 or 4 minutes per side. I barely get the browning I wanted before flipping them. There wasn't a bunch of fond, which is the foundation of a lot of sauces. Not to worry though, there will be plenty of flavor in this dish. To the pan, the finely diced shallots and thyme were added and cooked until the shallots were translucent. This took maybe about 2 minutes. Using a wooden spoon, I attempted to loosen as much of the fond as possible. Calvados, an apple brandy originating from the Normandy region of France, famous for their apples, was added to deglaze the pan. It was then reduced until it had the consistency of a glaze. This only took about a minute. Honeycrisp apple cider and heavy cream were then introduced to the sauce. It was simmered until just starting to thicken. The best way that I've found to check this is by dragging a wooden spoon through the sauce and seeing how long the bottom of the pan is visible. You can also just taste it to check too, which in this case I highly recommend. We adjusted for seasoning with salt and pepper, and then we were almost done. We plated the pork with egg noodles and of course the sauce and apples. This recipe is a winner and easy to make, and really perfect for this time of year. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please consider hitting the like button, commenting, and subscribing. We'll also be publishing a corresponding blog post with more of my thoughts and experience making this recipe. Again, you can find that on our website, recipesrecommended.com. And please don't forget, great minds eat alike.